Hi, welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video. As I've just been through the healthcare system here in China, I have attended hospitals before, but only for minor things. But as you know, if you follow for the channel, I've recently had breast cancer, so I've used the health service here quite extensively. And I thought it would be interesting to make a video about the differences I've observed with the healthcare system, both here in China and the UK, which is where I'm originally from. Now, this is entirely based on my own experiences and observations. Other people may have had different experiences and observations to me. So there are a number of different things that I've observed and experienced with the two healthcare systems. So I'll break them down into sort of sections. So the first thing I'll talk about is the cost. Now, typically, there's a sort of misunderstanding by many foreigners, i.e. non-UK citizens, that healthcare in the UK is free. Well, that is true to say that it is free at the point of service, and it's a universal system that everybody will get treated completely free of charge. However, that healthcare is paid for through taxes on your salary if you work. Now, I'll explain it in as simple terms as possible. It is a little bit more complicated than this for some people if you're self-employed or you have your own business. But for a majority of people who work for a company, then this is how it works. So the first £520 of your salary per month, there is no tax to pay on that we call it national insurance. Now, national insurance is the tax you pay that's supposed to fund the health service. So the first £520, you don't pay anything. Then between £520 a month and around £4,200 a month, you pay 12% of your salary. And then above at £4,200, you pay 2% of your salary. So it's quite a heavy burden. And also the company you're working for, they also have to pay 13.8% up to $4,200 per month, and over that they don't pay anything. So in total there's around about 25% of your salary between sort of 520 and 4,200 a month paid between yourself and your employer. And that's different to China. So in China, they have something, actually in China it differs from province to province, but I'll talk about Shenzhen. I don't know all the fine detail, but I'll give you a broad understanding. So they have a system here called social insurance, which is quite similar to our national insurance in the UK. So basically, if you have a job here, you pay social insurance from your salary. Your employer also has to pay some social insurance on your behalf. Now, if you need treatment, unlike the UK where you go to the hospital and all the treatment is completely free of charge, you go to a hospital in China for treatment and you need to pay for that treatment out of your own pocket. You then claim an amount back from your social insurance, and I think in Shenzhen it's actually 90%. So 90% of the cost of treatment here in China, if you pay your social insurance, is covered by that social insurance. The other 10% you need to pay yourself. Now, the social insurance covers most things. There are some things it doesn't cover, like there are some imported drugs that if you have those drugs, you will have to pay the total cost yourself. And the other thing that is, if you're not working, then you can continue to pay that social insurance yourself and get the benefits of the treatment under that social insurance. But if you stop paying that social insurance, then you do have to cover the cost of healthcare yourself. Now, I think I'm right in that explanation, but if I'm not, then please correct me in the comments below. Also, the costs here in China are much less than the cost would be if you compare them to a private hospital in the UK. So generally to see a doctor here costs from probably about £2.50 up to about £10 or £12. That will get you a consultation with a doctor at a hospital. Just to give you another example, this is from my own experience. When I have my surgery here, to have my dressings changed, it costs about £3, £3.50. Now, I think in the UK you wouldn't even be able to buy the materials for that. So the cost of healthcare in China is not prohibitively expensive compared to what it would be in Western countries. Now, I don't know a huge amount about healthcare in the USA, but from speaking to my friend who's from Detroit, he says healthcare is really very expensive now in the USA. So that's just a bit of a comparison for you. So the next thing I'll talk about is the sort of pay and different types of hospitals. So in the UK, if you're a doctor or a nurse, it's irrelevant which hospital you're working in, you will get paid the same amount of salary, and that salary will depend on your sort of length of service and your experience and your pay grade. So it doesn't matter if you're working in a hospital in Birmingham or Cambridge or wherever, you will have the same amount of pay depending on your grade. There is a slight difference if you work in London. Because of the cost of living in London, you get an additional sort of bonus on top of your regular salary for like a cost of living bonus, simply because it's more expensive to live in London. And that differs massively from China. So China, hospitals will pay doctors different rates. So if you go to the more rural areas where the facilities are not probably as good as those in the city hospitals, you find the city hospitals, the bigger hospitals in the cities, will pay higher salaries for their doctors and nurses. So what happens is the city hospitals then attract the more experienced doctors and nurses, and it's very common for Chinese people, if they have some major treatment or if they need some major treatment, they will often go to hospitals in the larger cities like Guangzhou, Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, etc. The hospitals in the sort of more rural areas will only tend to deal with more minor things because they feel the doctors are not so experienced in those hospitals. Now, that may not always be the case, but that's the perception that I have from speaking to Chinese people and my own experiences. Okay, so the next thing is the way you see a doctor or get treated at a hospital. Now, in the UK, you will first go to see your doctor at a doctor's surgery. Now, a doctor's surgery in the UK is very similar to a clinic here in China. So you would go to your doctor's surgery in the UK, you would tell him the problem. If he feels it's something that he can't deal with, he will then refer you to a hospital. And depending on how urgent that is, it may take 1 or 2 weeks for you to receive an appointment to then go and see the doctor or consultant at the hospital. If it's very urgent, you may be able to go, the following day, but usually you have to wait for an appointment to come through from the hospital. Whereas in China, you don't tend to have these clinics that you need to be referred from. So you go to a clinic in China if you have a very minor thing, and they will deal with it there. They have those clinics will have a doctor, but there's not a referral system to hospital like there is in the UK. Here in China, if you have a problem, you will choose a hospital that is suited to your problem. So for example, you might have a stomach hospital, you might have a hospital that deals with gynecology or cancer. So there's different hospitals deal with different things. There are also kind of general hospitals which deal with all things, but there are also specialist hospitals. So the way it works, you book an appointment with a doctor at that particular hospital and you go directly to that hospital and see the doctor. There's no referral procedure, there's no additional wait time to see a doctor. So the next stage is, like in the UK, when you get that appointment, you go and see the consultant at the hospital. He may then order some tests. So he might want you to get an MRI scan, you might get an ultrasound scan, he might recommend some blood tests. And he will make the arrangement for you to go and get those tests. You will then go and get those tests, and you may have to wait, a week or so for those results to come. And then you will go make an appointment to go back and see that same consultant. That consultant then will have at his disposal all those test results, and he will discuss with you the way forward. Now again, this is very different in China. So in China, you will go to the hospital, you will have a consultation. Again, the doctor may order a number of tests. Then you will go off and do those tests. But the difference here is often those test results won't go back to that doctor. So if you need an MRI scan, you will go and get an MRI scan, you will get your results. You need some blood tests, you will go and get the blood test, you will get those results. So basically in China, you yourself generally carry all your results around with you. Then you will make another appointment to go and see that doctor, and you will take your results from the various tests that you've had. You will take them with you when you next visit that doctor. So the next thing, and I think this is where one of the largest differences between the UK and China is the speed of service you get. So as I said previously, in the UK, you need to first visit a doctor's surgery. If it's an accident or emergency, yes, you can go straight to the hospital. But if it's not an accident or emergency, you first go to the surgery. That doctor will then refer you to the hospital. That may take a couple of weeks for you to get an appointment. Once you've had an initial consultation, you can wait anything from a few weeks to a few years to get treatment. So just to give you an idea, when I had this cancer, I checked in the UK, and the current time to start treatment after consultation in the UK was at that time a little over 60 days. Now, if it's something more routine like a hip replacement or a hernia or a knee replacement, you may be waiting for some years to get that treatment done. I had a small hernia operation in the UK, and I think I waited about 10 or 11 months to get the appointment for that surgery. Now that is significantly different to here in China. Here in China, you can get the treatment very, very quickly. So to give you an example, I went to see the doctor about my breast cancer. I didn't know it was cancer at the time. I got an ultrasound scan. 2 days later, I went and saw the doctor again. I need a biopsy, okay? They did the biopsy pretty much there and then. That then got sent off to the pathology lab. It took sort of 48 hours for the result to come back. And within 10 days, once they decided I was starting my chemotherapy, and similar to the surgery, it was all done very, very quickly. There's very little waiting in China. I think that's simply because of the amount of people they have. They can't really allow waiting lists and queues to build up. You literally can get treated pretty much. You can go from being diagnosed to having surgery within a week or 10 days. It literally is that fast, and with tests, a lot of the time, like I went for an MRI, I have the results within 2 hours. I go for an ultrasound scan, I can get the result within an hour. I can have blood tests. Now, depending on the blood test, you can get your results as quick as half an hour. Some blood tests take a little longer, up to 2 or 3 hours, but it is very, very fast. And that's a major difference between here in China and the UK. So next up is when you're actually in a hospital. And again, there's a really big difference between the UK and China. So in the UK, you go into hospital for a hospital stay, and pretty much everything is taken care of. You have clinical staff there who look after your medical needs. You then have other staff there that help you wash or take you to the toilet, help you change your clothes. You have food which is provided for you. So pretty much everything you need is provided by the hospital. Food and drink, pretty much everything. Now that's massively different to here in China. Here in China, hospitals provide only clinical care. So any additional things is taken care of by your friends or family. So that's food, helping you get to the toilet, washing you, all those kind of things. Now, it's normal that many people who have a stay in hospital in China will have a friend or a family member stay in hospital with them. And many hospitals will have sort of portable beds that you can use or rent for that relative to sleep on, because they stay with you all the time. So yeah, that is really a big difference, and it's up to the family or that friend to provide you with food, either cook it at home and bring it in, or purchase it from outside for you, or however they decide to get that food to you. But most hospitals don't provide food, and they don't provide that sort of auxiliary services that you would expect in a UK hospital. Now, if you don't have a friend or family that can do that for you, maybe you're in a different city and you have no friends and family around you, most of the hospitals will help you. They have like a pool of people who you can pay a daily rate to do those things for you. Now, that really seems very alien to foreigners who are not used to that, but once you understand how it works, it's kind of pretty much just how it is here. It's normal. So yeah, that was a bit of a shock to me, but I'm quite used to that now. And I'll just sort of touch on the level of clinical care here. So from my experience, the 2 or 3 times I've had to attend hospitals, I say 2 sort of fairly minor things and 1 more major thing, the level of clinical care I've received has been extremely good. And I think that's due to the fact that because of the amount of people doctors see in China, they do have a lot of experience of a lot of cases. But that's not to say that the clinical care I've received in the UK is any less good than here. I think they're on a very similar level, but as I say, China do see a lot of cases, so they are pretty experienced. You know, a lot of people think China is still a bit behind in that, but I can assure you from my personal experience that's not been the case. They've always been very attentive. I've always received pretty good care. I have no complaints whatsoever. And in conclusion, I'd just like to discuss that there's pros and cons to both systems. I think the biggest sort of difference is that in the UK, regardless of whether you have a job, what your financial status is, you will get care, you will get treated. You have no kind of worries or that. The downside to that is I feel people sometimes abuse the system there and maybe don't take care of their health as well as they should. Now, the Chinese system, on the other hand, there is a problem. If you are very poor and you don't have financial means, you may find it difficult to get treatment. I've never experienced anybody who's not been able to get treatment personally, because normally family will help, etc. But it is more of a concern. However, this does make Chinese people much more aware of their health. They tend to look after themselves a little bit better not all, but a majority. They also tend to be a bit more careful about their eating habits than Western people. So yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons to both systems. I think both systems are very good. It is good to be able to get speedy treatment here, whereas sometimes in the UK, if you have something that's non-urgent, you may have to wait a long time, and that may be painful. But you know, that's just the way the systems are. I think if you could take some things from the Chinese system and some things from the UK system and put them together, you'd have the perfect system. But unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world. Anyway, I hope that has given you a bit of an insight into the differences in the healthcare systems, and I hope some people will find it useful, perhaps people who are coming to live in China, or people who are planning to go and spend some time from China in the UK. It just gives you a bit of an idea of how the both systems work. Anyway, enough talking from me. If you did like this video, please hit that thumbs up, because it really does help us more than you realise. If you do like the channel, consider subscribing. But as always, for now, take care.